Welcome into the August 11th episode of the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. The World Juniors are officially underway. Canada victorious in their tournament opener. We'll recap that game. And a couple of Leafs prospects that are making a name for themselves early on in the tournament as well. And the Buds have officially extended their first PTO of the offseason, Dave. It's not a name that you'd expect. We'll let you know who it is on today's episode of Locked On Leafs.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother on TSN's Overdrive and TSN 1050's Leafs Lunch. Joining me, it's my co-host Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also writer for the NHLPA. Locked On Leafs is a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast, so be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcast from. You can also now catch us on video format up on YouTube if you haven't already. Go check us out there. Click, search up Locked On Leafs on YouTube, and go ahead, hit subscribe, and let us know down below your thoughts on the action so far down at the World Junior Championships. Are you invested into it now that it's starting? Have you changed your mind? Are you watching these games? Let us know in the comment section down below. All right, Dave, before we get into tonight's game or recap the game, Canada's 5-2 win over Latvia, and get into some of the Leafs content, there is some, sad news in Leafland that we became aware of over the course of the last 24 hours. Borje Salming, Leafs ledge, arguably the greatest Leaf of all time. I believe he was ranked number one when the Maple Leafs did their top 100 list for their centennial season. I believe he was the number one player, if I'm not mistaken.
He was actually it was Dave Keon that was number one, but he was in the top 10.
He was definitely. I thought he was number. No,
top
you're right.
Defenseman of all time, I believe.
Top defenseman. Okay, that's what the number one defenseman, I believe.
Yeah,
was Borje Salming. You're right.
Or actually, he might have been one or two. I think Tim Horton might have been one, the top defenseman. But remains a top 10 Leaf of all time.
Now we got to check this, Dave. Now I got to double check to make sure that I'm correct, because I could have sworn he was the number one defenseman. That's what I meant to say. Now I got to check.
I'm
Top 100 Maple Leafs centennial season.
So yeah, Dave Keon. I've got it right here. Dave Keon is number one. Borje Salming is 8. And Tim Horton was 6.
Why did I think that he was the number one defenseman? I don't know.
You know what? In my opinion, I think he remains the top Leafs defenseman of all time. And I know I haven't watched him play like live, but reading about him and going back, his style of play would be fantastic in this day's game.
Oh, whatever. He would be just an outstanding defenseman. In modern day hockey, imagine he had, the flex on the twigs that they have nowadays, and if he had the training that these players have nowadays, would have been outstanding. But we did find out that he is now suffering from ALS, also known as the Lou Gehrig's disease. And he sent out a statement to Leafs Nation. If you want to post it here and read what it says there, Dave. This is what Borje Salming sent out via the Toronto Maple Leafs PR earlier today regarding his health status.
Yeah, so he said, I have received news that has shaken my family and me. The signs that indicated that something was wrong in my body turned out to be the disease ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. In an instant, everything changed. I don't know how the days ahead will be, but I understand that there will be challenges greater than anything I have ever faced. I also recognize that there is no cure, but there are numerous worldwide trials going on, and there will be a cure one day. In the meantime, there are treatments available to slow the progression, and my family and I will remain positive. I received. Oh, sorry, that was the same part. I just realized I put this 2 parts together. I shall get the second part up. I'll read it out. I did a great job putting this together, by the way.
Nice.
Okay, since I started playing hockey, all right, I shall take this down. Since I started playing ice hockey as a little kid in Kiruna and throughout my career, I have given it my all, and I will continue to do so. Right now, I rest assured that I have my loving family around me and the best possible medical care. I understand there are many of you that would like to reach out. However, I kindly ask that you respect our privacy in these trying times. Please keep us in your prayers when the time is right and I understand more about my condition and future journey. I will reach out. So until such a time, we kindly refrain from all contact. I hope you understand and respect our decision. It's a tough news to wake up to. Like first thing I saw when I woke up was this
Yeah.
news and just blindsided me because I don't know if you've ever seen Borje Salming recently. He's 71 and he does not look like a 71-year-old man.
Yeah, I think he took in a couple of games I've seen recently, and I saw him like on TV, I guess, and yeah, he doesn't. But it's when it comes to diseases, man, like they don't care how old you are, they don't care who you are. It comes for you, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, so that was some tough news in Leafs Nation. Borje Salming diagnosed with ALS, so we're gonna be wishing him good health going forward, and um, because like it's not something that necessarily has like is curable, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of something that you live with,
Mhm.
so hopefully it's not doesn't take over his body uh too quickly, and he could still live a long and decent life, I
Yeah.
suppose. All right. It's not an easy way to transition out of talking about this stuff because it's such a dark situation. But why don't we take a break? We'll come back, and when we get back, we can get into Canada's victory over Latvia, and then we can get into some Maple Leafs news as well. A couple of Leafs really tearing it up in their first game at the World Junior Championships, and a PTO has been extended from the Maple Leafs to a goaltender. We'll tell you who that is on the other side. But before we get there, David, why don't you tell the good folks about one of today's show sponsors, Athletic Greens?
Yep, it's a product that I use every day. I started taking AG1 because I wanted to boost my immune system and get healthy. Now I've been on it for roughly 6 weeks. I love it. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy. Sometimes those super healthy things can have a bit of an aftertaste. It has a kind of a mild tropical taste I actually look forward to every morning. So, what is in this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day off right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free. It costs you less than $3 a day. Imagine you're investing in your health and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's even cheaper than all the other different supplements that you might be taking right now. You're investing in an all in one nutritional insurance. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews, recommended by professional athletes, trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais. For every purchase, they also donate to help fight kid hunger and helping kids get nutritionally fit as well. So they also help many organizations like No Kid Hungry in the US. In 2020, Athletic Greens donated over 1.2 million meals to children in America. Great organization all around. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a little more incentive and offer you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Take ownership over your health and pick up your ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. We're hosts here at Locked On Leafs. If it's your first time joining us, thank you so much for giving us a chance. Hopefully you enjoy the conversation we're about to have. And if you do, go ahead, smash that like button, and give us a subscribe as well, whether it's on YouTube or if you're listening on whatever audio platform you get your podcast from. That was a tough first segment, Dave. I'm not gonna lie. If this is your first time, we usually are not as tough as that first
No,
segment went. I don't know what happened. I was sitting there and I'm like, oh yeah, number one defenseman for sure, and not even realizing that Tim Horton was ahead of him. And then, you messed up on the graphic there. It's like, oh, we both made a big
this
mistake.
hit us hard, I will say.
Oh man, that was a tough first seg. But tell you what, we got another 20 minutes. We're gonna bounce back.
We're like the Leafs. We have a bad first period, but don't worry. Second and third, we got you.
That's right. That's right. Just don't ask us to show up in the playoffs. That's basically how it's gonna go. We all know how
we
that
showed up in the playoffs. I was just gonna say that. We did show up.
We did show up. We did show up. All right. So Canada, with their first win of the tournament, a 5-2 win over Latvia at the World Junior Championships. A little rocky after one period, just like us. They were someone who struggled, and then they picked it up in the second and third period. But it was tied at 1 after the first, and then came on to score 4 goals, an additional 4 goals throughout the rest of the game, and ended up with the victory there. Connor Bedard put on an absolute show. He had an unreal goal to open up the scoring. Zellweger, I thought, had a beautiful goal from the point, saw through like 4 different bodies. And then Ridley Gregg, who ended up getting named player of the game, his goal was absolutely unbelievable. Just kind of fights off the defender and then has the wherewithal to forehand, backhand, and just like poke the puck through the 5-hole of the goaltender. It was awesome to see, but wasn't Canada's best game, I would say. They eventually picked it up, but certainly a little rusty, I think you could say. But overall, nice to see, I guess, hockey in August, or what? Like, have you changed your mind on watching over the last couple of days, seeing this hockey in August? Because when I'm looking at the attendance, I'm looking at what's going on in the stands, it looks like really low turnouts. Like, even for these Canada games, like the game tonight, I saw lots of empty spaces in the lower bowl, which I wasn't really anticipating. I thought at least the Canada games might be able to fill the lower bowl, but doesn't look like it, man. Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Is like when you don't have seems to be going back to like the COVID crowds where like there weren't many people at the games. To me, it's nice to see that like a guy like Connor Bedard, you can get excited to watch a guy like that. There's some Leaf interest in these games as well, so that gets you somewhat interested. But yeah, I'm not, rushing over and like having to, plan my day around the World Juniors. If the World Juniors is on, I'm watching it. I mean, partly also because I have to do some work around it. But
right,
like otherwise, I'm not, rushing and telling my friends, yo, if we're going to a bar, we better make sure we have a place where we can watch this World Junior game.
Right? Yeah. And like, even like there's no key Canada US preliminary game because they're in separate tables. So they're going to have to play, somewhere down the line if they do want to play each other. And that, I imagine, as typically does, will get a massive crowd. But Latvia didn't get you a big crowd against Canada. Maybe when they play Sweden and Finland, maybe that'll, tick up and you'll see a much larger crowd. But this one was a little lower than I anticipated seeing it, to be quite honest with you. But Canada back at it tonight. They'll be taking on Slovakia, which I think it'll be another low crowd if that's the case, just based on the fact that 4:00 local starts. Most people don't get off work until 5:00. So the fact that they got 4:00 local starts, I think, is a little bizarre. Not sure why they have the 4:00 and not the 8:00 ones.
I think that has to do a lot with other people around the country watching.
Well, I know, but like, yes, you're right. That's exactly what it has to do with. It has to do with pleasing us here in Ontario and elsewhere around the country. But a 4:00 start local time isn't. I don't know. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for anybody, I suppose. Because even here, it's like 6:00 as opposed to 7. Yeah, okay. I guess most people are home. They've already eaten and the game starts. But locally, if you're trying to sell tickets to get people in seats, get bums in seats, I mean, a 4 o'clock local start isn't necessarily the best way to do it. Like at least, I don't know, 5 or 6. And now you're talking about an 8, if it's 6 p.m. local, that's 8 p.m. Eastern, which is prime time. That makes way more sense to me. I don't know. It is what it is, I suppose. There's really no sense of complaining about it, I suppose. But Canada will be back at it tonight. They've got Slovakia, who lost their first game. So they'll be looking to rebound, where Canada will be looking to move to 2-0 in the tournament. And if you want, you can bet on this game over at betonline.net. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They got you covered. Head to BetOnline today, or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano. Got Dave Morassutti here with me. We're hosts here at Locked On Leafs. And speaking of the Maple Leafs, we chat about Team Canada and them being victorious at the World Junior Championships. Well, the two squads that feature Maple Leafs prospects also victorious in their opening games at the World Junior Championships, Finland and USA. But the guy who really so far has stood out amongst all Leafs prospects, and he wasn't the name. I mean, I thought he was going to have a good tournament, but wasn't the name where I was expected to say, oh, all right, let's go. Roni Hirvonen ends up with a 3-point performance in Finland's 6-1 win over Latvia on night one of the tournament. So a nice little 3-point effort out of Roni Hirvonen. Almost had a 4th point, assisted on Topi Niemela's goal, but it was called back. So didn't get that 4th point, and Niemela didn't end up getting credited with a goal either, but he looks pretty good on the blue line. And then Matthew Nyes, America, winning their first an opening game. And Matthew Nyes didn't score, but made some really nice plays and really still looks like he's going to be just like a stud power forward. So good in and around the net. It's good to see.
Yeah, I'm first off the anti-Leaf bias to take away Topi Niemela's goal. Shame.
That's it, right? It was just Edmonton fans, and they were like, or Edmonton fans who were down. I guess I don't know where actually the double IHF is when it comes to, like they go down to Toronto in the NHL for goal call.
The situation room would be.
Yeah, like where's the situation room? Is it in Edmonton? And if that's the case,
situation rooms. Actually, it's a good thing you brought that up. How ridiculous was that review in the US-Germany game?
Oh my God. The review was one thing, but then the explanation afterwards, like, can we pull this up? Can we find this actually? See if he could. Then the thing gets crapped out, so maybe not. But this was ridiculous. Absolutely. Explain to the people who didn't see it exactly what happened.
I should find James Duthie's tweet about it because I thought it poetically. Okay, I'm going to read James Duthie's tweet on this. So, the USA scores on a close high stick play. It was ruled no goal on the ice. But then they did around 9 minutes of a video review. The call gets reversed. It is now a goal. But then Germany challenges for goaltender interference. So then 4 minutes later, the goal gets reversed again to a no goal. So after about 12 minutes and 53 seconds, I guess James must have had a stopwatch or something. The call on the ice was then deemed the correct call as a no goal.
But it was like whoever the official was, he was like, the goal is good and the challenge is successful and no goal. I was like, wait, it was good? It was no good? What?
This reminds me of that Monday Night Football game. It was a Monday Night Football between the Packers and the Seahawks, where each player had the ball in the end zone, and you had one official going touchdown.
And the other one saying interception.
Yeah, other one saying interception, and we're just like, bruh, which one is it?
Which one? What are you talking about? Yeah, that was definitely I guess the the funniest moment so far of the tournament. Yeah, that was really something there. But tournament action continues today with, oh yeah, we got all three games have a, Canadian flair to it, because you've got Canada tonight taking on Slovakia. That game's going to be at 6 o'clock, like every Canadian game, 6 o'clock Eastern time. And then we got Finland, who's got Roni Hirvonen and Topi Niemelä taking on Czechia. That'll be at 2 p.m. And then USA and Switzerland with the nightcap with Matt Nyes. That'll be at 10 p.m. So if you're a Leaf fan, you've got a full slate of games today to watch at the World Junior Championships. Just a solid day of couching on a Thursday afternoon in August. Should be an interesting day.
Every
and a
guy
fun
is
day
dream.
for those.
Every
Oh,
guy.
yeah. If you're off today and you're a Leaf fan, you're in heaven. Absolutely in heaven, just to watch, Hirvonen and Niemelä do their thing at 2 o'clock, roll it right into Team Canada doing their thing. And then a little bit later on, you'll have USA and Switzerland and see what they can get up to. Watching Matthew Nyes, see if he can pot a goal or something like that. So fun day ahead at the World Junior Championships for day number 3, as most teams will finish up their second games on the slate. All right. We teased it a little bit earlier that the Maple Leafs had extended a professional tryout to PTO for training camp to a free agent goaltender. If I would have told you that the Leafs were going to do this, there would have been maybe like 14 goalies ahead of this player who did get the PTO. The guy's name is Dylan Thompson. And most of you guys are probably saying, who? Like doing the old Conor McGregor, like, who is that guy?
Well, I hate to say it, well, they will still be doing like they still will be doing it when you hear his story as
It
well.
probably will. So he was a 7th round pick by the Dallas Stars back in 2017, traded to the Vegas Golden Knights, actually got to play a game that season in his draft plus 1 year because Vegas was down to like their final goaltender in the system, which happened to be Dylan Thompson. They had to call him up.
Did you
from
call
the
Dylan Thompson?
Sorry,
Dylan
Ferguson. Ferguson. Had to call the guy up from the minors, from the WHL, and he got into a game. Didn't play too well. Didn't play well at all, I might add. But did get one game at like age 18, which doesn't happen a whole lot. So that was kind of funny. And hasn't played a game in the NHL since. He's been mainly in the East Coast League, and last year he was in the American League, but only 23 years old. So there's still, he's still a rather young goaltender, and he's not someone I think is going to compete for some NHL duties, obviously, but maybe just like some extra insurance in, the AHL, potentially the ECHL, where he's spent most of his time. But strange that this is the PTO goaltender that they're going after.
Yeah, like when Dylan Ferguson was brought into the NHL, he was the Golden Knights' 5th option.
Yeah.
Like they went through 4 goaltenders before they're like, who do we got next?
And it was like the kid that they had traded for like a few weeks prior. And they're like, I mean, this kid, we got to throw him in, 18 years old, but he's the only goalie left that we have signed to a contract who we can play.
Yeah,
like, that was it.
He came in a trade from the Dallas Stars. I remember that. He was a 7th round pick by the Stars.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting because the Leafs are going to have quite a few goaltenders in training camp. I don't know how many of them are going to be in the Leaf training camp because there will be some going right to the Marlies. Like you got Samsonov, you have Matt Murray, you have Eric Schalgren, you got Joseph Woll. I'm assuming Keith Petruzzelli will be there. Dryden McKay will be there. That's already counting 6 goalies.
Yeah, and that's not including Dennis Hildeby, who's, a couple of years away from coming back overseas to North America. But, that's another guy who, is in that age range of Ferguson, Petruzzelli, and Dryden McKay, where it's like, it's a really weird situation. Like if I look at Ferguson at this point on the depth chart, like he probably is ECHL level player. And if that's the case, I mean, a PTO is just kind of strange. I don't know. I guess they didn't want to completely lock him up. Like if you look at his numbers They haven't been terrific. I think I can probably actually I can screen share this, correct?
Yep.
So
Go for it.
I'll share his numbers that I'm looking at right now, and show you guys exactly what he's all about. Our guy Dylan Ferguson. So
Yep.
you can see right here.
Yeah. Just a little bit, Mike.
What's that?
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah. See, is that good?
Yeah, that's better.
Perfect. You can see right here the Vegas Golden Knights played one game in his draft year, one game, 500 save percentage. But a couple of games in the AHL the following year, 2 years later, but mostly in the ECHL, 387 goals against, 869 save percentage, not great. And then a couple of years back, 11 games in the East Coast League, a 196 goals against, and 920 save percentage, pretty good. But then not so great once they got to the playoffs. And then last year, spent all his time in the American League, just 13 games last year, but a 290 goals against and a 907 save percentage. So, I mean, he's not a guy who wows you in terms of stats, I would say. Pretty decent, I guess, 922 that year in Kamloops, the year he got drafted, with a 7th-round pick. But ultimately, I guess it's a flyer. It's just a lottery ticket, and maybe he can be just organizational depth should injuries start to occur.
Which
But
the Leafs have had some issues with.
they have, but I'm not expecting a whole lot out of Dylan Ferguson. That's for sure. But it did get me thinking. Like, we're getting to that time now where PTOs kind of start to get extended out to guys, and there's a lot of like decent free agents still available. I wonder if we're going to see many of these guys take PTOs. Are they going to actually just finally sign their deals? Like, what's going on here?
All right,
But
fine. We'll send one out to Nazem Kadri. We'll give him a PTO. We'll give him a shot.
that's right. You want a PTO? We'll give you an option. You want to come in here, get a good sweat on. You won't have to leave the country. You're already in London. Why not? Come on. But like, is there any other, like, how would you feel about the Leafs signing some more guys to PTOs? Like, do you want to see these players get their opportunities who are currently with the squad? Or there may be some guys who you're thinking of who maybe could be some PTO options for this club this upcoming training camp?
Kind of wondering what the heck is going on with the Sonny Milano situation.
Yeah.
He's a guy I would extend a PTO. He's only 26. He had
Yeah.
34 points last year, and he, like, if you looked at his ice time, didn't play a whole heck. Like, he played only average about 15 minutes a night. Like, put him in the right situation. I think that's someone I would like the Leafs to consider there. If you're looking for scoring depth, a guy that can and have a little versatility, Evan Rodriguez. I don't know how that guy still hasn't been signed. I thought he was fantastic.
That's what I mean. Like a couple of these players, are they PTO guys? Like, how do they not get guaranteed contracts already? That's what confuses me about all this. However, who was it that we saw? Was it Mike Kaufman a couple years ago, where he went into St. Louis on a PTO, and they had to like wait until they put someone on IR, and then they signed him to a contract like after the season had started technically, but he was with the team for training camp on a PTO. Like, remember when that happened? Like, I wonder if there's some of these guys are thinking about doing the same thing. Like, once they are able to get through camp, and then they can put people on LTIR, open up a bit of cap space, and then officially sign that player. I wonder if that's kind of what is going on with some of these guys. For me, I wouldn't mind bringing in somebody who might be able to like win the 4th-line center role. Like right now, it's Adam Gaudette. He's fine, like just fine to me. If he ends up becoming the 4th center, like I don't think that's awful. But at the same time, like a couple of guys who are still out there, I think Cody Eakin would be a decent option as a 4th-line center. There was a lot of intrigue and discussion regarding Sam Gagner earlier this season. I remember I was on the lunch, and we were talking with I think CJ, and he had mentioned that Sam Gagner was a name to keep an eye on with the Maple Leafs, and he's yet to sign. He's still a free agent, and the Maple Leafs haven't brought him in. But I wonder if that's the type of PTO that they could bring in and maybe he can try and compete for like a fourth line job. And then Zach Aston Reese is another one of those guys who was linked to Toronto a little bit early in the free agent process, mainly by, I think, media and speculation, just because he's the type of player that they need, I suppose. So perhaps he's somebody who Toronto could bring in as a PTO to try and, win a job potentially. So those three are three players that are still out there, veteran guys who I think potentially could be PTO level players. Sonny Milano, I think will get a guaranteed contract before camp at some point. So I mean, maybe not. Who knows? I guess he hasn't signed one yet for whatever reason. I think everyone's still waiting for the Kadri shoe to drop before they start offering out, these $2-3 million deals to Milano and Rodriguez. But Eakin and Gagne, I could see those guys and their free agent status leaking into September, and then eventually they'll have to kind of go in on PTOs and try and make teams that way, as opposed to trying to wait out and get themselves a guaranteed deal. Anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, I'm looking at the list. There's actually quite a few guys I wouldn't mind throwing a PTO offer at, like even like a Brandon Perlini. I know he hadn't done much at the NHL level yet, but this is a guy that has size, scoring a bit. He showed he could be a scorer during his minor league career. I just don't think he's caught on to the right situation in the NHL level. But yeah, I think if you want to look for like some right-handed depth on the blue line, like a Michael Stone, I get if he's looking for a shot, give him obviously you're not going to throw like 10 PTOs because no team's really going to do that. But like you're going to sensibly want to have a few up front, maybe one or two on the back end. Like there's going to be quite a bit. I think there's going to be quite a bit of that. I think teams are weary of the cap space that they have as well to give contracts to, and maybe they want to see if they can get internal solutions to work before they give out any guaranteed money.
Right. Like for the Leafs, for example, I mean, yeah, I guess you could go and sign Cody Eakin to a pretty cheap deal to come in and be your fourth line center, but what if Adam Gaudette can do it for cheaper? Like why would you give away that guaranteed cash and, take away a roster spot or, a contract slot for no reason? Bring him on PTO, let them battle. If he's better than Gaudette, wins the job, then you reward him with a contract and then it doesn't hurt you. But if you bring him in and you already give him a contract, but Gaudette wins it anyways, now you're sitting there with Cody Eakin's got nothing to do and you've wasted a contract slot, right? So it would make a lot more sense for them to go the PTO realm. And Dylan Ferguson has received the first one of the offseason from the Toronto Maple Leafs, 23-year-old goaltender with exactly one game of NHL experience. But again, don't anticipate him to factor into the NHL this season. More about that organizational depth. With an organization that uses a three-tier system with the NHL, the AHL, and they really utilize the ECHL as well for development. At a 23-year-old goaltender, it's just another flyer, little dart throw at the board. So hopefully it works out for Toronto. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. Also, go ahead and follow the show at Locked On Leafs. Get social with us. Reach out to us. We love answering all your questions. Go ahead, smash that like button if you're watching here on YouTube. Comment down below if there's anyone you want to extend a PTO to. And before we leave, Dave, you wanted to have one more word for us.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about sad stories in hockey with Borje Salming, but I think we have to also give a shout out to Ben Stelter, the Stelter family. Very tough news also. Ben put up a great fight. He was such a great story throughout the Oilers season. I feel like he energized that Oilers team because they were
for sure. He was what was it, Layla, the girl in St. Louis? He was like that and galvanized the group like she did with St. Louis. He did that with Edmonton. Now, the story had a much more Cinderella ending with Layla and St. Louis than did with Ben and with Edmonton. But ultimately, Yeah, he was just like a folk hero amongst not just the players, but I mean the fans, hockey fans in general were always stoked whenever they won. And, every time they won, you saw the gift get dropped. Play La Bamba, baby, every single time.
Kid had
But
good taste in music. Great
yeah,
taste in music.
incredibly sad though. Way too young, gone way too young. That's for sure. But yeah, we're definitely the hockey world is saddened by the loss of Ben Stelter, and obviously Borje Salming is he's not dead, but not in good health right now. And we also wish nothing but the best for him and his family moving forward as well. All right, David, good stuff today. We'll be back with our episode tomorrow. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.